Trade talks keep escalating with the situation going down between the Boston Bruins and New York Islanders as new names have been reported in potential dealings with the two clubs, including what we have already known to this point. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as a major bullet dodged by the Boston Bruins as a former Bruins player has now signed an extension with their new team. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video very quickly before we do jump into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of news coming. You know, I've been saying in just about every video now, your support has been absolutely incredible. We're on the road to 7K, we're 80 subscribers away, and we're going to have so much news still coming out that you won't want to miss. So help me out by hitting the sub button, but I'm going to help you out by giving you all of your Bruins news as it comes out here on the channel. But let's get straight into it here. We have no time to waste because things are continuing to heat up, and I feel like we're getting more and more information by the hour at this point, and I'm going to pull up this from RG Media. This is what we've made in the past few videos covering all of this. The Bruins and Islanders trade talks are heating up. It's not about just Pageau. Sources confirm the number 7th overall pick and James Higgins are in play. That's what we heard yesterday. If you haven't seen that, go and watch yesterday's video, yesterday morning's video. Kind of break it all down there in that one because you're going to want to know what happens in that one so we get this new name. And here it is. Looking at Alexander Romanov, this is where things get a lot more interesting compared to it. We've spoken about what players could be involved in a trade for this number 7th overall pick. The Bruins have said that they're willing to move it, whether move up into the top 5, move down, get a player ready now. There's been many options, but there's a few names the Islanders have been looking to get rid of, Pageau being one. Romanov is one that's very interesting now as one of the other names that have been kind of circling without a contract. Haven't said they're looking to get rid of him, but is one of these options to add into a package. Now, when you go and take a look at Romanov, he's not a guy that's going to put the puck in the back of the net. He's not going to go and drive an offensive ability. He's a guy that is strictly defense, can throw the body around, and just a very, very solid left-hand defenseman. Now, this is where things get a bit more interesting as well. A left-handed defenseman. The Bruins don't need another left-handed defenseman. We need more solid right-handed defensemen and nothing really else on the defense. And we saw Noah Dobson be an option. Whether or that is a real option, of course, whether or not that report is actually coming out, has any feasible credibility behind it, we're yet to figure out. But looking at Alexander Romanov, he is a player that really will bring a lot of what the Bruins are looking for, but not right now. Now, where does all this Romanov stuff come from? This comes from a recent tweet that we got here today from Stefan Rosner. While the Islanders haven't made pending RFA Alexander Romanov available, the Bruins and Flyers are two teams that have inquired about the 25-year-old defenseman. Now, I don't know if it's this offseason so far, previously throughout the season last year, maybe the last season. We don't know. But the fact that we're seeing the Bruins be continuously inquiring about Alexander Romanov, there's already been talks with JG Pageau being almost certainly at least some point in this deal, and the 7th overall pick from the Bruins side of things, a deal seemingly is coming into the view of fans here. And from a Boston standpoint, I'm not really liking what we're seeing so far. And, you know, I've mentioned Matt Barzal, I've mentioned a possible Noah Dobson, maybe, Bo Horvat, really any of those three that would provide an instant boost to this team, all of which are seemingly not available by the Islanders' standpoint and where the terms of their trade stand. So, looking at this deal, the Bruins kind of are putting themselves in a bit of an interesting spot. Now, I think that they're trying to get as much as they can out of it, but we're still yet to find out if that's going to be the actual case, because Romanov, certainly a good player. You see, JG Pageau is a good player, but those don't help the Bruins right now. They're simply depth at this point. Now, looking at Romanov as well, more in depth as of this season, 64 games, 20 points, 22 minutes time on ice. That was the big thing for him. He is a very solid defenseman, not just, in terms of his ability, but literally solid. Like, he is very good on his skates, 25 years old, playing first to second line minutes, blocks a lot of shots, is a guy that do not mind getting in front of the puck or laying the body, and it's something that the Bruins, already kind of have in Nikita Zadorov at that point. So when we're looking at it this way, it really makes a big kind of decision for the Bruins to make here of what they want to do with the 7th overall, whether or not it's going to be Pageau, Romanov, and something else for at 7th. If that's what we're looking at compared to a Matt Barzal or a Noah Dobson or something like that, I'm out. Honestly, I really don't like what we're seeing at this point right now, so I want to know what you guys think in the comments below here as well, because things are looking a bit, kind of bleak in that instance where we're not getting much in return compared to what we normally would have. But we got to move on as well and take a look at, kind of the centers before we jump into the rest of the stuff here, as well as the signing later. This tweet from Michael Sullivan that came out, I wanted to pull this up here. I'll pull it up on the big one that you can see. this kind of comes into term as well. When we were looking at Barzal, Bo Horvat, I guess it kind of does relate to the Islander stuff as well here, but we have a lot of centers. And this is a very good graphic to kind of put into perspective when I've been talking about it so much. So thank you, Michael Sullivan, for tweeting this out into a big, got a simple list for us here. But there was a report about, seeing a potential Casey Middlestat trade or Matt Poitras trade apparently being shopped. That is not the case at this point right now. But looking at the centers, Beecher, Kaslik, Lauko, Kuznetsov, Lindholm, Poitras, Middlestat, Zacha. They have so many. And will all of those be able to fit into a lineup? They can, but would you want them to? Not really. There's a lot of centers who can play wings there. Of course, Zacha, Lauko, Kaslik, more and more coming as well. There's going to be some movement that has to be made. And, unless it's a very, very good center, I'm not taking one that is just simply another depth center. So let me know what you think about that as well in the comments below. Kind of figuring and kind of finishing that one off here. But we do have another update here regarding the Boston Bruins coming out now that we do have a... this is not the tweet, but the Bruins are not looking to buy anybody out. That's the tweet I was looking for. I don't know if I have it here. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a spoil here throughout it. But no, we do not have it here. So looking at that, though, of course, the Boston Bruins looking to make this lineup better, and of course, that does not come by making this team, change it too much. They're not looking to buy anybody out. They're not looking to go out here, make any differences, and I feel like that's something that we kind of expected at this point. There's a few names that could have been thrown out there, maybe like a Casey Middlestat, but his trade value is much more important than what it is to be a buyout candidate. So I think we're looking pretty good on that side of things for the buyouts. But as you saw there, Trent Frederic signing an 8-year deal, $4 million per season with the Oilers. Now, this is not done just yet. They're closing in on it. It's going to be a few days until it's actually announced. Of course, as they simply just kind of got eliminated from the Stanley Cup Finals. They're going to give it a few days to see how the roster really plays out. But this is something that's pretty much all but confirmed. And it does seem like the Boston Bruins have dodged a major bullet on this Trent Frederic side of things. And, he's a phenomenal player. He was bound to be traded this season. I didn't really want to see him be traded at the end of the day, though. But it's kind of a good thing we did now, because when we're looking at a $4 million contract, that's not terrible for Trent Frederic. Maybe 3 years, that'd be a good one. But for 8 years, they're putting a lot of trust in Trent Frederic, the Edmonton Oilers are, as a player that will keep up at that level. We saw a pretty nasty injury this year that definitely didn't put him back to where he was on the Oilers when he was on the Bruins, but we're wondering now, will that last? Is he going to be healthy enough to actually continue that? Is that injury going to linger? Is he going to be back to where he was? A lot of questions are being raised in that instance for the Edmonton Oilers, as things seemingly are going that way, but a lot of fans, for the Oilers at least, are not very pleased with that, but it does seem like we dodged a major bullet here, and I want to go with the Scotia stat. They have a little graphic here that you see. They're projected by length, so looking at the length that a 2-year deal would have been around $2.4 million. That was a probability of 70% what they were going to do to it. When they go up to an 8-year, it's $4.9 million, so it is a bit of a better contract than what it would be on a projection for an 8-year deal, but the Bruins were not willing to give up that much to Trent Frederic, and I think it's a very, very fair statement that they had done that. And I kind of want to put it in perspective as well. Have a look at this. Now, it's very small, I know, but when we're looking at this, you see how much the cap is allocated across the Bruins team. There's not many players that would have had a higher cap hit than Trent Frederic on this team, apart from the obvious, Lindholm, Pastrnak, a few others, just kind of going over Swayman. But that would have been a very big contract for the Bruins in their instance of where they are right now in the rebuild. So it goes to make sense that there was a great trade at the end of the day. So let me know what you think about that as well. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. We got a lot more Bruins news coming for you. You will not want to miss it. But like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.